Chapter 57. Leaving this time, Yi Tian wasn't worried about the safety of his sister, Yi Yu, at all. Now, he was already the strongest person in the Linhai base, and if anyone dared to deal with his sister, it would be an act of seeking death. After leaving the base, Yi Tian went straight to the little Chiba forest. Soon, he arrived at the place where the Kojin clan was. Master, Xiaojin saw Yi Tian and hurriedly ran over. Today's Xiaojin had changed a lot from before. His body was larger, and his aura was much stronger. High-level beast. Yi Tian could see at a glance that Xiaojin had become a high-level fierce beast from a middle-level fierce beast. He wasn't surprised at all about Xiaojin's promotion. He had been able to advance from an elite martial artist to a great martial artist, and Xiaojin, who had a top-level bloodline talent and had already reached the peak of an intermediate-level fierce beast, now being promoted to a high-level fierce beast was completely normal. Xiaojin, who had been promoted to a high-level fierce beast, had almost grown to the peak level of being able to hunt high-level fierce beasts, but it was still inferior to the top fierce beasts. After all, Xiaojin's strength was still too weak to hurt the top fierce beasts. Xiaojin, I asked you to collect the blood of the fierce beast. How is the collection now? Yi Tian asked. Master, you come with Xiaojin. The little golden fart took Yi Tian to the place where the blood of the fierce beast was stored. So much beast blood. Yi Tian was really stunned. Several large pools were filled with high-grade fierce beast blood, and as for the medium-grade fierce beast blood, there were even more, with more than a dozen large pools. It's estimated that there are 10,000 copies of high-level fierce beast blood, and there are at least 200,000 copies of intermediate fierce beast blood. Yi Tian estimated. For him, the intermediate-level fierce beast blood was useless, but his sister was now about to be promoted to the martial arts realm, and would soon need the intermediate-level fierce beast blood to refine her body. Some of these mid-level beast blood could be sold, and some could be left for his sister. As for the usefulness of high-level fierce beast blood to him, the cultivation of a great martial artist also consumed a huge amount of high-level fierce beast blood. So much high-level fierce beast blood might not be able to support his cultivation to the peak of a great martial artist. In fact, it wasn't too much. Not bad, not bad. Yi Tian praised Xiaojin, and then said, in the future, there's no need to collect the blood of the intermediate fierce beast. If you encounter an intermediate fierce beast, just swallow it yourself, and the blood of the fierce beast doesn't need to be kept. As for the high-grade beast blood, you can collect more. I can still use it. Master, Xiaojin knows. Xiaojin nodded obediently. In the following time, Yi Tian continued to go back and forth between the little Chiba forest and the Linhai base, transporting these intermediate-level fierce beast blood and high-level fierce beast blood back. Although there was a lot of blood in the fierce beast, Yi Tian's speed was too fast. What was the concept of 20 times the speed of sound? That's 6,800 meters in 1 second, which was equivalent to 6.8 kilometers. Of course, the actual running wasn't so fast, because there would be obstacles on the way, and if you really ran at such a fast speed, you didn't know how many beasts and stones you would bump into. It was only during combat that short distances could reach 20 times the speed of sound. No matter how slow it was to run long distances, at Yi Tian's speed, it was a matter of tens of seconds. Therefore, he quickly moved the blood of these fierce beasts to the Linhai base. Even in order to facilitate the storage of these fierce beast blood, he deliberately built an underground secret room under the villa to store the fierce beast blood. After emptying the blood of the fierce beast, Yi Tian assigned another task to Xiaojin, to help him find a fierce beast with super defensive ability. Defensive ability had always been a flaw for Yi Tian, and it was natural to make up for this flaw as soon as possible. Yi Tian's current copying talent could already be used again, but since he didn't encounter a good talent, he directly copied Xiaojin's endurance talent. As a result, Yi Tian's talent situation became like this. Human, Yi Tian, cultivation talent, top, speed talent, top, knife talent, medium, shadow talent, elementary, healing talent, top, strength talents, high, endurance talents, medium. With the endurance talent, Yi Tian could fight for a long time, and he was almost not afraid of siege, because his super physical strength could allow him to maintain his peak combat strength for a long time. Subsequently, Yi Tian returned to the Linhai base and began a long retreat, occasionally going to the little Chiba forest to have a look. And just like that, another month passed. Since he was a newcomer to the level of a great martial artist, Yi Tian had a period of rapid improvement in strength. So after consuming a large amount of high-level fierce beast blood, he increased his physical strength to the level of 150,000 caddies, which was about the same as the physical strength of most great martial artists in the early stage. This day, Yi Tian came to the little Chiba forest again. As soon as Xiao Jin saw Yi Tian, he said excitedly, "Master, I found a fierce beast with super defensive power." "Really?" Yi Tian's expression changed, and he asked happily. "Well, I sent a lot of clansmen to look for fierce beasts that seemed to have strong defenses, and finally found a big snake covered in scales a few days ago, and the other party was also a high-level fierce beast, so I went in person. As a result, my attacks didn't hurt it at all. However, my speed is much faster than its, and it can't help me." Xiao Jin hurriedly said, "A high-level fierce beast that even Xiao Jin can't help." Yi Tian's heart moved, and he was immediately sure that the other party had a super defense, which must be a defensive talent. "Where? Take me," Yi Tian said urgently. Xiao Jin carried Yi Tian on his back, quickly moved in the little Chiba forest, and ran to the depths of the forest. Due to the fact that there were too many trees in the forest, Kim didn't run fast. After about 10 minutes of running, this place had gone deep into the Kochiba forest. At this time, Yi Tian and Xiao Jin came to a waterhole. "Master, this is it." Xiao Jin looked at the waterhole and said. The waterhole was bottomless, and it was difficult to see what was inside, but when Yi Tian approached the waterhole, a fierce beast's breath was transmitted. Wow! A giant snake emerged from the waterhole, its upper body completely exposed to the air. It was pitch black and possessed a large number of scales, each of which shone like a treasure. Its body is at least 30 meters. Yi Tian made a preliminary judgment. Subconsciously, he checked the talent of the giant snake. Species: black-scaled python. Bloodline talent: high. Defense talent: medium. Medium defense talent. Although not very high, it's enough to make up for my shortcomings, and I'll copy and upgrade it when I encounter a higher defense talent in the future. So, Yi Tian secretly copied the medium defense talent of the black-scaled python. Chapter 58. Hiss! The black-scaled python roared at Jin, who recognized him. It was Xiao Jin who had harassed it a few days ago, and it hurt to beat it, and it had long held a grudge against Xiao Jin. In this way, when it saw Xiao Jin again, it couldn't help but attack. Yi Tian looked at the huge body of the black-scaled python and said with a smile, "With such a big body, it should be enough to gather hundreds of high-grade fierce beast blood, and the snake skin can also be made into defensive clothing." "I'm sorry." Yi Tian's body moved. 20 times the speed of sound was activated, and his strength talent was also activated. Puff, puff. Yi Tian slashed at the black-scaled python 7 inches with a knife, but the indestructible scales in Xiao Jin's eyes were easily crushed by Yi Tian. Yi Tian's attack power was not comparable to Xiao Jin's. His attack power had reached the level of a grandmaster. No matter how strong the defense of the black-scaled python was, it was only comparable to that of a grandmaster. Even Grandmaster Yao Yi couldn't stop his attack, and this black-scaled python naturally couldn't stop it. Within a second, Yi Tian didn't know how many times he had slashed in the same place. He saw that the 7-inch area of the black-scaled python had broken a big hole at this moment, and the heart of the black-scaled python was completely pierced by Yi Tian's hole, and its vitality was gradually dissipating. Bang! The black-scaled python fell to the ground, its huge body collapsing. Now, Xiao Jin's eyes widened, and he looked at his master, Yi Tian, incredulously. It clearly remembered that although its master was stronger than it before, it was very limited, far less terrifying than it was now. It had only been a short time, and the black-scaled python that it couldn't defeat, Yi Tian actually killed it easily. "Worthy of being the master of my little gold," Xiao Jin said proudly in his heart. After killing the black-scaled python, Yi Tian hurriedly collected the heart blood of the black-scaled python. The heart blood was undoubtedly the most essential part of a fierce beast, and the energy contained was higher and purer. After the heart blood was collected, Yi Tian collected dozens of high-grade fierce beast blood to ensure that the blood would no longer flow out easily, which allowed Xiao Jin to drag the body of the black-scaled python back. It took a lot of time for the corpse of the black-scaled python to be brought back to Xiaojin's residence. Then the remaining high-grade beast blood was put into the blood pool. Xiaojin, the corpse of this black-scaled python will be eaten by you. Remember to keep the snake skin, Yi Tian commanded. Good, Xiaojin replied. It also didn't want to eat the snakeskin of the black-scaled python. It was too hard to bite it all. Even if Yi Tian didn't tell him, he wouldn't eat the snakeskin of the black-scaled python. When Xiaojin tasted the meat of the black-scaled python, Yi Tian began to fuse the medium defense talent. Fusion, Yi Tian thought. Soon, his whole body began to heat up, a trace of sweat flowed out, and his skin began to tingle faintly, and his body became red. This was the process of transforming the defensive talent. 10 minutes passed, and the defensive talent fusion was successful. As soon as his mind moved, the talent situation was presented on Yi Tian's retina. Human, Yi Tian, cultivation talent, top, speed talent, top, knife talent, medium, shadow talent, elementary, healing talent, top, strength talents, high, endurance talents, medium, defense talent, medium. In addition to the cultivation talent, I already have 7 special talents. I'm afraid it's the only one in this world, Yi Tian said proudly. Let's try the effect of the medium defense talent. Yi Tian took out the intermediate Yuan Force knife weapon and slashed lightly on his left arm. Bang! The intermediate Yuan Force knife was bounced off. The force he used just now wasn't much. At most it was only tens of thousands of caddies, and it was too normal that he failed to cut the skin. So, Yi Tian increased his strength, until he increased his strength to 150,000 caddies, but he still failed to break through the skin's defense. Strength talent. Yi Tian opened the strength talent, and the strength of his body skyrocketed tenfold. Subsequently, he experimented with 200,000 caddies of strength, but still failed to break the body's defenses, and then increased his strength. It was only after increasing his strength to 250,000 caddies that the skin was cut. But this was only using pure skin to withstand attacks. The real defense of the warrior was to use the Yuan Force Protector to defend, and the degree of defense of the Yuan Force Protector was directly related to the body's defense. Yuan Force Protector. A faint film of Yuan Force covered the skin of his body, and Yi Tian used the knife to cut the skin again. This time, Yi Tian increased his strength to 1.5 million Jin before finally breaking his body's defenses. 1.5 million caddies. In this way, my body's defense is enough to withstand the attack of 1.5 million caddies, and most of the great warriors can't break through my defense. And this is just the beginning. Once my cultivation is promoted to the peak of the great martial artist, I'm afraid that even if I stand there and let the peak of the great martial artist cut me, he won't be able to cut through my defenses. Yi Tian was very satisfied with his current body defense. With this layer of defense, coupled with his top-level healing talent, his life-preserving ability had increased several times. For the next month, Yi Tian spent most of his time in the little Chiba forest, only returning to the Linhai base once in a while. During this period of time in the little Chiba forest, Yi Tian cultivated frantically, united with Xiaojin, killed dozens of high-level fierce beasts, and obtained a large amount of high-level fierce beast blood. In such a crazy cultivation situation, whether it was Yi Tian or Xiaojin, the strength of one person and one beast was increasing rapidly. Finally, on this day, Yi Tian increased his physical strength to the level of 200,000 caddies, and Xiaojin's strength basically reached the peak level of the early stage of the high-level fierce beast. His speed also rose by 1 level, almost reaching 25 times the speed of sound, and Yi Tian's speed reached 23 times the speed of sound. However, such frantic action by Yi Tian and Xiaojin caused the number of high-level fierce beasts in this area to be greatly reduced, and finally attracted the attention of the top fierce beasts in the depths of the little Chiba forest. Rumble. A white giant ape with a height of 50 meters walked out of the depths of the small Chiba forest and began to inspect the huge area where Xiaojin was. This area was its territory, and those high-level beasts could be said to be its subordinates, and every once in a while they had to offer some blood food in order to obtain its protection. But in the past few months, there had been too few high-level fierce beasts to offer to it. It was very angry, so it personally came to trouble these high-level beasts. But when it came here, it was dumbfounded. All those high-level beasts from the past were gone. Could it be that you ran away? The white giant ape thought. Thunder. The white giant ape strode forward, and the giant trees were knocked to the ground by it. Suddenly, it sensed the breath of a high-level fierce beast. So, it ran over. And this high-level beast was none other than Xiao Jin.